Many claim an anti-Islam film posted on YouTube is to blame for the multiple violent protests that have erupted across the Middle East. Yesterday, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department took a man thought to be one of the filmmakers in for questioning. Hours later, Al-Qaeda's branch in Yemen released a statement praising the killing of the U.S. ambassador in Libya and calling for more attacks. So how should the moderate Muslim community respond to all of this? Joining us now is Zafar, the national spokesperson for Ahmadiyya Muslim Community USA. Good morning, Harris.
Good morning. Thank you for having me back on.
We can only imagine the experience this must be for you, an American-born Muslim, as you watch all of this violence across the world that pits Americans against Muslims. How do you make sense of this?
You're right. It's incredibly frustrating. Being right in the middle, I feel allegiance to America, I feel allegiance to Islam, and to see both sides kind of attacking each other. But fortunately, the question about how to respond has already been answered by the countless Muslims that have already come out to condemn this violence, as well as the protests we see in Libya by the lay people. This is really, in my mind, a vicious cycle in which Muslims are provoked and then they react with unjustifiable violence. And both sides of this vicious cycle need to be addressed. First and foremost is the violence, which Muslims must be quick in condemning and denouncing. And for the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, that's part of our DNA. Under the guidance of our worldwide Khalifa, we've been empowering moderation for over a century because as Muslims who believe in the Messiah, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadian, we believe that extremism amongst Muslims can be reined in by reverting back to the true original teachings of Islam, which have clearly been forgotten. But
yes,
the second part of this vicious cycle must be addressed as well, which is the overt attempts to incite hatred and provoke a religious group. This film is filthy, and it depicts a prophet in nefarious ways, and although they're legally allowed to produce such media, there needs to be a self-evaluation of testing the limits of free speech.
Now, it was heartening to see some of the posters held up during these protests that say, we're with America, Chris Stevens was a friend to this country, things like that. But
Absolutely.
it doesn't seem to be doing enough. I mean, and your community speaking out, the moderates speaking out, why aren't your sentiments taking root more?
Well, like I said, this is a two-way road. On one side, I'll have to say that free speech should not be considered unfettered. There are obscenity laws, hate speech laws, defamation laws. So free speech should not be considered to be open and unfettered. At the same time, Muslims need to learn how to respond to such incidences. And I could speak for the example of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. Our Khalifa has repeatedly reminded us on how to respond to this, which is not only to turn to God as faithful Muslims to seek His help, but to respond with a pen. And our response should be one that's lucid in conveying the blessed model and example of the Prophet Muhammad, who himself said that differences of opinion are a blessing in society, and he provided special protections to Christians and emissaries. So Muslims must respond with logic and reason to such depraved acts. And so that's what we're doing, and we're hoping that other Muslims will follow the example of the Prophet Muhammad in order to finally eradicate this behavior.
And be as vocal as your community, Ahmadiyya, is in coming out and denouncing all of this violence. Zafar, thanks so much for coming on.